Welcome back, everyone, to the Bitcoin Business Bureau. I'm your host, as always, LitecoinLeader. Today, I want to talk about a lot of things are happening overseas, or outside of the United States, and the impact to the world economy. So I just want to jump right into it, and I'll tie a few things together. But I'm going to tie it together in a little bit different way. I'm going to talk about what is called the New Silk Road. And if you haven't heard that term and how I can tie it back to the United States, stay tuned. So first, let me share my screen and let me start talking about these. So the first thing that happened, I think this was on Friday, So on Friday, we had the Royal Bank of Canada. They went offline. So banks were basically closed in Canada. I don't know when they came back online. Let me look closer at this window here. And let's see. Royal Bank of Canada is currently offline. That was on Friday, I think. Yeah, July 8th. July 8th, that would have been, checking my calendar. July 8th was last Friday. So, and of course, they said Bitcoin's never offline. So obviously, crypto, Western Euro was on top of it. But it was interruption. To think it was Rogers and the Rogers network and the banking, so they couldn't get online. They couldn't get their money out of the banks. That was the first thing that happened. Now, also a couple of days prior, this has been going on for a while, and I'm going to talk more about Asia in a moment. But Turkey is in an economic crisis, and you can make a case for. I think Turkey is considered Asia, but it's borderline. But Turkey is in an economic crisis. Their inflation is at 80%. Now, I did a video earlier this year talking about how they were promising, I think, Turkish bonds or Turkish CDs that were guaranteed, I think, 14% return. If they didn't get 14%, you would get US dollars instead. But that the economy is in shambles over there. So the Turkey's not doing well. Their inflation is at 80%. And I know I shared it on Instagram. A lot of countries that are just going crazy for their inflation rate overseas, and that's just not getting coverage in the mainstream media these days. Next one. This was the big story over the weekend, and this is from Sri Lanka. And there's lots of videos out there. I'm just sharing the one how in Sri Lanka, and if you don't know where Sri Lanka is, I'll share a map in a moment, but it's an island just off the coast of India. And they've been having major issues. They shut down the availability for several weeks, almost up to a month. They couldn't get gasoline. Only government vehicles could get gasoline. And they basically just said, we've had enough. And they just overthrew the government, and they are attacking the central banks now. They're tearing it all down. They were swimming in the presidential pool. The president ran and caught a flight out of town, out of the country. So Sri Lanka is having a complete disruption and overthrow going right now. And then lastly, and this is also not getting covered. None of this is getting coverage. So in China, there's been 4 major banks. All right, the Chinese banks are all like, they're not giving out any money anymore. They just closed. They just froze assets. And now there's word, some people are reporting that they're going to be giving them, rather than their money back, they're going to give them a different asset that's not insured. So imagine your bank account that's FDIC insured in the United States. Imagine your money being seized for a month, and then they give you back money that's not even insured. It's a lesser value. It's a major mistake or a major issue. But let me talk about something called the New Silk Road. Now, if you don't know what the Silk Road was, historically speaking, that was a major trade route used by Marco Polo and many others from China to Europe. And it was a major undertaking about 10 years ago. I think they started it 2013 to connect China to Europe by land and also by sea, all through in all these different areas. Now, it's also called One Belt, One Road. So the belt is the yellow line, and that's the economic belt. That's the blue, and then the road is Maritime Silk Road, which is kind of backwards to me. I would think a road would be paved and go over land, but hey, I didn't make this up. So of note here, I wanted to point out there's Turkey, there is Sri Lanka, and there's China, all part of this. So all these countries that were building this, this is a Chinese initiative to expand their economic influence throughout Europe and Asia and even into Africa. And what they did was similar to what the United States had done when they started the petrodollar. And if you don't know that history, I would really recommend this book right here, which I've talked about several times in the past on this channel. And that is The Confessions of an Economic Hitman, which is by John Perkins. I think that's a auto. I think it's legitimate story. He may have like the guts are definitely factual. He may have embellished a little bit for just story purposes, but I think for the most part, it's factual. And the idea of this, and I'll drop out of the screen here, just start talking to you. Let's see, here we go. So the idea behind the book was that when the petrodollar was coming online, there a lot of the three-letter agencies were sent over to other countries to proliferate the U.S. dollar. And that what they did was they would go to a country and talk about their economy, and they'd say, "Hey, your country is prime for growth, but you need an infrastructure." So they would say, if they do an analysis, they'd give them a report. Basically, they'd go in there as consultants and just say, if you put X million of infrastructure in for building airports, roads, ports, whatever, they will come, and then your economy will be worth 10 times more than the loan or whatever however they sold it. And they said, all you have to do is sign here and get out a loan from the U.S. government for U.S. dollars and pay us back in dollars over time, and everybody will win. Well, what happened was these reports were often overblown, very rose-colored, just saying, "Hey, your growth is going to be this," and it never came to fruition. No matter what they did, whether they so like pick a country like Panama, they said they'd have. This is after the canal, so they would put in airports, roads, transport, whatever, all this infrastructure, power stations, and they'd have this huge debt in U.S. dollars, and then they'd be debt slaves to the U.S. dollar and the U.S. government. So that's kind of what China adopted. That's the model they adopted, and I think Sri Lanka has these ports and they have these airports that are not used at all. Beautiful port, beautiful airport. No one uses either one. It's like one of the big. It's kind of like how China built all those giant apartment buildings and big condominiums and all these different new properties that they built, but no one is living there, and now they're just like ghost cities that they built. And that has led to all these things, all these developments that people didn't come and buy, has led the developers to basically go belly up and bankrupt. And that's been, that's how we got to names escaping me, but all these places, like I'm trying to remember all the different real estate companies. Let's see. Evergrande. So how Evergrande, and I think the other one is Fantasia or something Disney type name. But anyway, China has all these things that are going bankrupt, and that's putting pressure on the real estate market and putting pressure on the financial market. So China has issues. Turkey has issues for inflation. Sri Lanka is basically overthrowing their government. They've got major issues. And a number of other channels have said, when people are spending 40% of their income or the average income on groceries, they will revolt. When there's too much energy spent, there's too much revolt. They will revolt. And Sri Lanka, they couldn't get gas for a month. Only the government could. So it's getting wild and ugly, and no one's talking about it here in the States. But the rest of the world is going through a lot of change now too. So I just want to give a little clarity, and these are kind of things that I talk about, and we talk about in Telegram a little bit, but most part of my Patreon and all my AMAs. And you can get access to my Patreon. The link is, it's sticking down here below. It's also in the description. And I'll post a video up here about how to, all the things that I offer and how some of them are discounted for the summer as we go through a crypto winter in the summer. But these are the kind of things that we talk about on our AMAs, and we have another one coming up this Wednesday that'll probably be a free one for YouTube. But these are the kind of things that you need to. You got to keep up on the global news, because everything's so interconnected now, and it all comes back to the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is very strong right now compared to the other currencies, because the currencies are falling off. So it's not really that the dollar is getting stronger; it's that everything else is getting weaker, comparatively speaking. So that's what I wanted to share today. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment or down below. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff for the channel, and share this video. I'd love to hear your feedback. So with all that said today, I'm going to close the drawer in the bureau, say follow leader one more time, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.